Hey guys, I'm Haley Holt, as I'm sure you know. I probably invited you to this video or somehow you came across it, but either way, hi. Um, so I just kind of wanted to talk about my story a little bit and where I came from, how I got here, all those things. I'm sure a lot of people wonder all the time. Maybe some people are scared to ask, and maybe you did ask, and so that's why, or how you got here. But yeah, just a little bit about me. I'm 23 years old. I'm a girl mom of two, and I'm a licensed cosmetologist. Um, I graduated high school, went straight to cosmetology school. I wanted to be a hairstylist for as long as I can remember, at least since middle school. And I thought that was my calling. Everybody told me not to be a hairstylist. Everybody told me I wouldn't make money. Everybody told me I was too smart for hair school and that only dumb people go to hair school, which is not the case. Um, and I did it anyways. I paid a lot of money to be able to go. You probably think cosmetology school isn't that expensive, but it was pretty darn expensive, and now I'm paying a lot of student loans back for that. Um, but anyways, I graduated cosmetology school I graduated cosmetology school 9 months pregnant, and I waited a little while, but I did start working at a salon, and I worked at a salon for 2 years, I think. And I actually became assistant manager pretty quickly. I want to say it was like 6 or 8 months after I started. I became assistant manager. Um, but I thought I was living the dream. I thought I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do because I was assistant manager. I was making pretty good money. I was making, better money than most people my age, like most of my friends and stuff. Um, and like I said, I had at the time she was 1 or 18 months old. I had a daughter. Um, but I was working my butt off. I was constantly stressed. The environment was super, super toxic for me. I was coming home every day with all this baggage. Um, and just in a super bad mood, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was making decent money, but we were still super tight and paycheck to paycheck. We had government assistance. We had um, food stamps. At one point, we had WIC. We had Medicaid. Um, Basically, I was even about to apply. Um, I don't even know what it's called when you apply to basically have somebody pay daycare for you because daycare was so expensive. If you have kids, you know how expensive daycare is. My paying just for one child to go to daycare, I was paying as much as I was for rent. So, basically, I was paying two rents every month, and it was just too much. It was so tight. I don't think we expected finances to be so tight with just one kid, but they were, and it just started taking a toll on me. I was doing as much as I could, and I was assistant manager, but I would also ask for as many shifts as she could give me. I enjoyed working. But we also needed the money, and so I was working most weeks 6 days a week. Some weeks, if we were super busy, it was 7 days a week, and I would work anywhere from 6 hour shifts to 10 hour shifts. Um, and we were still living paycheck to paycheck, and we were in a ton of debt. Like I said, I have student loans that I was paying back, and we had a 1 year old, and I was in credit card debt, of course. um, and then we found out we were pregnant with our second daughter when Bella was about 18 months old, and that was when I knew something had to change. Basically, from the time that I got pregnant with our second, I was looking for a way out of the situation. I was looking for, not only did I want more time with Bella, but I needed more income. So I was thinking about picking up a second job. I was talking to one of my friends that worked at a restaurant. She made pretty good money at the restaurant at nights and on the weekends. And I was talking to her about maybe picking up some shifts after I left the salon. But ultimately, I didn't want to do that because, for one, I felt silly because I had my cosmetology license and I was doing exactly what I thought I wanted to do my whole life, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to go, and it wasn't giving me the life that I wanted to live. Um, and Also because I'm sitting here, super upset about the fact that I never get time to spend with Bella and I don't have time to spend with her. And I'm thinking about spending even more time away from her just so that I can support her and her sister. And it was really hard. I can't remember what it's called, but I feel like most moms have this when they're pregnant with their second. I felt so guilty that Bella wasn't going to be an only child anymore. And I always had those questions in my head, what if she doesn't feel as loved because I'm loving her sister now too and I don't give her enough love? Or what if I don't give her enough attention? Or what if I don't, um, you know, spend enough time with her? All those things were going through my head. So I wanted to spend as much time as I could with her before Penelope was born because I didn't want her to feel that way. And I don't know, I feel like most moms go through that, but I felt so guilty and I just felt like I wasn't giving her the life that I wanted to. And I was even more worried once we had 2 kids. If things are this tight now, how are we going to do it with 2? So I prayed for weeks or months. And I think I was about 5 months pregnant when I came across this opportunity. I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant when I came across this opportunity, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, or in a minute, but I was so stressed out leading up to this. We were, like I said, we were 4 months pregnant. We were living paycheck to paycheck already, so I didn't know how we were going to be able to afford a new car seat and a new crib because Bella was still only 18 months old, so she still was using hers. And we were stressed about gas. I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but I literally would put $5 in my gas tank on the way to work because that's all I had. And I was hoping that $5 would get me to work, and then I would make tips and I would put $5 in my gas tank to go home, and I would do that every single day. It was ridiculous. I was always on E, and there were so many times I ran out of gas on the side of the highway, and my family was getting so frustrated with me because I was always running out of gas. Like, it happened at least once a month, and I would either have to call AAA or I'd have one of them come save me because AAA takes like an hour or 2 hours to get to you. So I'd call them to come save me, and it was driving them nuts. And our grocery budget, it's so crazy to think now our budget literally was between $25 to $40 a week, literally with an 18-month-old. And a lot of the times I would end up taking my tips at work and I would go buy fast food on my lunch break at work because I literally didn't have money to, put groceries in the house. And it was just, like I said, it was just one thing after another. There was months I couldn't even make my minimum payment on my credit cards because I was using all the money on the credit cards because I didn't have the money to buy the things I needed, and then I couldn't even make the minimum payment. So my credit score suffered a lot because of that. It was just everything felt like it was coming, instead of coming together, it was like falling apart. And then, like I said, we were 4 months pregnant, and I came across this opportunity. So, yeah, I saw this opportunity on Facebook for a while. I actually knew quite a few people that did it from high school, and I did not think it was something that I would ever do. Especially because I was like, I'm a cosmetologist. Like, I have a cosmetology license. Why would I not use that and have a career in what I went to school for? Like, why would I start working from home? That just sounded crazy to me. I honestly didn't believe that the people were making any money with it. And I saw a lot of people start with stuff like this and then just stop after like a couple months. And so I just never took it seriously. And I was super skeptical about it. You can ask anybody that knew me before I started. Literally not something I would have ever done. So it's so crazy, but I saw it for years before I ever even gave it a second thought. And I was following this girl on Facebook for a while. I want to say like 2 years. I'm not following her, but we were friends on Facebook. And I was friends with her for like 2 years, and I saw what she was doing for about 2 years. And she did reach out to me one day. Another thing, like I said, it was so hard to afford daycare because our daycare costed as much for one kid as our rent did. So I had posted a status on Facebook one day, and I was so stressed out because I couldn't afford daycare anymore, and we ended up getting a babysitter, and then the babysitter quit on us, and I didn't have anybody to watch my child, and obviously I had to go to work because we barely had enough money as it was. So I think I had posted a status about looking for a babysitter or something like that, and this girl reached out to me, and she was like, hey, have you ever considered doing what I do to make money from home so that you don't have to put your child in daycare, basically? And I was like, yeah, no. I'm a cosmetologist, and I love my job. I love doing hair, so no thanks. And I blew her off. Like, I didn't even give it a second thought. Like, blew it off, never thought about it again until a couple months later, our situation got even worse. And that was before I got pregnant. And then, like I said, I was 4 months pregnant, and it just felt like we were digging ourselves into a huge hole. And I saw her go live on Facebook one day, and she was just kind of telling her story and talking about how hard she worked. And she actually was talking about how she was making, I believe at the time she was making $10,000 a month from home. I watched her every day sit at home with her daughter and not have to leave her. They would go to Carowinds during the summer and sit out by the pool and just like living such a carefree life, like never stressed about money, doing whatever they wanted, going to Disney. She brought her husband home, like retired her husband, and they, became a full-time stay-at-home family. And it was just so crazy that that was a way to live. And I didn't believe it for a long time. I really didn't. But like I said, I was friends with her for like 2 years, so I just watched her story unfold. And then I saw her do that live and like talk about her story. And for some reason, it just clicked with me. And I messaged her after that live. And at that point, there was really nothing she could say that would make me change my mind. Like I knew, like I said, I had been praying and I knew that that was what God was putting in my path. And for some reason, I was being called to do it. So I did it. I messaged her. I got started immediately. I didn't really have the money to get started. But I had like literally like $120 left on a credit card or something like that. So I almost basically maxed it out to get started. But honestly, and I didn't have the money to do that necessarily because, like I said, we were in such a tight situation. But I just saw the potential in it, and so it didn't bother me really. I knew I could make that back. And I'm one of those kind of people that once I set my mind to something, I do it. Like I will not fail. I will conquer. I will succeed. If I want something, I'm gonna get it. Basically, I'm a go getter. So like I said, I just saw the potential and I knew I would make it back. And so I jumped in. I was so scared, nervous, all the things. I literally didn't tell anybody before I got started. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family. I didn't even tell Jared. Jared found out because I made a post the next day on Facebook about starting my own business, and he was like, what the heck is this? And I was like, don't worry about it. And like I literally didn't talk to anybody about it because I knew none of my friends and family would understand, and I knew they wouldn't be accepting, and I knew they wouldn't support me. So I didn't tell anybody. I was nervous to post on social media, but I kind of knew that the only way to be successful was to start posting, and I did. And I was scared, but I did it anyways. And I worked. I was still working at the salon, like I said. I was working full time as assistant manager. So I would basically work this business in the morning before I went to work, and like when I woke up, like I laying in bed, and I would work then. And then when I got home from work at night, like when Bella went to bed, I would lay in bed at night and stay up a little bit later and work. And so like I was just kind of working around my full time job, and it got to the point where about 3 months in, 2-3 months in, I promoted twice, and I was making an average of $500 a month from home on my phone. And at that point, I was like, okay, if I can make this much money, at that point, I could buy the car seat and the crib that I needed for the baby. And I knew I needed to save up for maternity leave because I was going to be on unpaid maternity leave for at least 6 weeks. Um, so, and honestly, we didn't even know what we were going to do when I had to go back to work because we could barely afford daycare for one. We knew we were not going to be able to afford daycare for two. So that was a whole nother thing. Like I was so worried about that. So I knew I needed to save up money for when I had to go on maternity leave. So I started making $500 a month, and I was like, okay, if I can make 500, I can make 1,000. Like I know I can make $1,000. So basically at that point, like I said, I was working. I went down to part-time at the salon, so I was working 3 to 4 days at the salon, and I was making $500 from home. And so I was making a little bit extra, and it was so nice, and I was able to save up for maternity leave, and like I said, I was able to buy the things that we needed for the baby. And then maternity leave came, and not only did I have a little bit of money saved up, but I kept making money while I was on maternity leave from home, from my phone, from my business. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is honestly amazing. I never would have thought this would have been possible. And it was like such an eye opener for me. And I went on maternity leave in October, and I should have gone back in 6 weeks. I should have gone back before Christmas, but the thing was, if you are familiar with salon life at all, you know holidays are your busiest times of the year. So Christmas was in December, and And all the previous years, I had to work Christmas Eve in the salon because that was literally the busiest day of the year. And I refused. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not, going back to work before Christmas because I know they will put me on the schedule for Christmas Eve. Everybody has to work on Christmas Eve because it's that busy. And I'm not doing it. I'm not spending Christmas Eve away from my 2-year-old and my newborn. I'm not doing it. So I decided to extend my maternity leave, and I was actually on maternity leave instead of 6 weeks. I was on maternity leave for 3 months. Um, just because I had a little bit of income coming in from my business. And so I stayed out until January. In January, I did go back to the salon because I just thought that was the right thing to do. That's what everybody does, right? So I just thought it was normal. So I thought I needed to go back to the salon, and I did. Um, and I was only working I went back, I want to say like mid-January. And then I went to conference in February for my business. And it was the first week of February. I went to conference and I just caught this huge vision. And like I said before, I knew if I could make $500, I could make $1,000. And after conference, I knew I was going to make it happen. It just kind of put a fire in me. And so after conference, I it was maybe 2 weeks after conference, so mid-February. I was only back at the salon for a couple weeks. I put my 2 weeks in. Which is so crazy. I put my 2 weeks in at the salon, and I said, screw this. I'm not spending this much time away from my babies anymore for people who don't appreciate me, or my time. They could care less if my kids were sick or if there was something going on with my kids. Like I said, Christmas Eve, they wanted me to work there instead of spend with my kids, stuff like that. So I said, screw this. I'm not going to spend my time in these four walls anymore when I can go stay at home with my babies and make the same money. And I put my 2 weeks in, I quit, and then in March I ended up promoting again, and I was making an average of $1,100. It wasn't enough. I wasn't making as much yet as I was at the salon full time, but I kept going. I was so hungry for more, and I knew what was possible at this point. So in May I promoted again. And it's so crazy because that was when I was in for a year. It was 12 months in May, and I promoted again, and I was making an average of $2,000. And by that point, like I said, I was making $2,000 a month. And in March, I forgot to mention, I actually earned a $5,000 bonus. So I had a $5,000 bonus right after I quit my salon job, and I was making $2,000 a month. But again, I still wanted more. So about 18 months into the business, I decided to promote again, and I actually ended up doubling my full-time salon income from home. And that rank is an average of $4,000 to $5,000, and it's just so crazy to me that I put my 2 weeks notice in. I quit the salon job, and I've been home with my babies ever since. So it's actually been a year this month. It's May now, so it's actually been a year this month that I've been retired from the salon, and I've been at home with my babies for the last year. They haven't had to go to daycare, and I'm making double what I was at the salon, and I'm still not satisfied. I know that sounds crazy, but we're still going, and I plan on promoting again. And the next rank is $10,000 a month, which is the girl that I was watching before I started. That's how much she was making when I got started. So it's just so crazy that, I've been in this business for 2 years now, and it's crazy that it's even possible to make this kind of money. I also forgot to mention, so in March of last year, I made the $5,000 bonus, and then 18 months in, I made a $10,000 bonus. So I made a total of $15,000 just in bonuses last year. And it's just so crazy what it's done for our family. I don't have to be on food stamps anymore. We don't have to be on WIC. And, we're not worrying about, not having money to put in the gas tank. I don't ever have to put $5 in my gas tank. I actually was able to buy a new mom car last October, November. I bought a Mazda CX-9. I had a Hyundai Elantra before that, so I had to upgrade. Now that I have 2 kids, I have a mom car, 3-row SUV. And so if you have an SUV, putting $5 in doesn't get you anywhere. And I never have to do that anymore, and it's such a blessing. Now I'm able to fill up my tank literally whenever I want to without even having to check my bank account, and I don't have to run out of gas on the side of the road anymore. I know my family's thankful for that. it's just so crazy, how far we've come. We don't have to give ourselves a $25 grocery budget every week. I can go spend $100 or $150 if I need to. Um, and it's just so crazy. This is our new house too. We moved into our new house in January, which would have never been possible without this business. We are paying double now in rent what we were paying at our old house, and we were stuck in that old house for 4 years. I hated the house. It was falling apart. It was so outdated. Um, I just hated it, but it was all we could afford, and so now we're paying double the rent. It's about 500 square feet bigger, and now we have a two-car garage. It's just so crazy, and we didn't even have to wait for tax time to put the, deposit down for the house. We did it in January, so it's crazy that in 2 years, this is our life. I don't have to stress about leaving my babies anymore or worry about sending them to a daycare and not knowing if they're safe anymore because the world is so crazy these days. Um, and I get to be at home with them every day. They're actually napping right now, which is a blessing. Um, but I'm here every day with them, and I'm making money from home, and I'm making, double what I was in a salon where I wasn't appreciated. And there, I was already assistant manager, and there wasn't much more rank advancement. I have promoted and made more raises in these 2 years that I've been with this business than I did at the salon in 2 years. And so it's just been such a blessing. And I'm so thankful that I was friends with that girl on Facebook and that I saw her for so long and that I actually considered it and I prayed and God put this in my path. And He showed me that there was another way out. There was, a different way to live than struggling and living paycheck to paycheck and being miserable and always fighting and missing out on so much precious time. There's nothing more valuable than your time. And I'm thankful that I took the leap of faith and I had enough guts to be nervous and do it anyways, and I'm here. If I wouldn't have just made the choice and say yes, I wouldn't be here. So um thank you for watching. I know it's been a good little minute watching this, but yeah, that's my story, and I hope you took something from it. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will answer any questions that you have. But yeah, I will talk to you later.